All right. It says I'm live, and it never fails. Okay, it never fails. So I got a couple things lined up, but I guess first thing we should do is go ahead and boot up the particular video that we're going to respond to. I think that's only fair. What's up, Daniel? Um, see if I can find it real quick. Let me switch accounts, and because this is impromptu, but it's something that needs answers because some of these cats, man, I swear to God. Okay, not too long. We'll get to a little bit of it. Get to a little bit of it. We'll get to this. This is Big J Triple X on a deconstruction of paternity fraud. Okay, we're gonna speed him up a bit, and in fact, we'll give him 1.5 because Big J is really slow. So go to 1.5, and hopefully, well, I'll probably need to go 2x on him, but we'll see.
Then I said, how about you stay on topic and produce some research to back up your claims? So when he made this comment, I said, who is you and why are you coming on the comment section that has nothing to do with you and has nothing to do with, and I'm not even talking about the topic that you're addressing. And I'm really getting tired of you Negroes coming on YouTube being so misinformed and spreading uh, gossip and slandering the truth. But let me educate a lot of these people about the 30% of men paying child support. So we're going to go to a website called DNA Diagnostic Center, DDC, and there's an article that says 30% of men, not the father. So let me go ahead and read some of what is said on here. 30% of men, not the father. A quick online search gives a frighteningly alarming numbers. Many articles claim that many as 30% are unknowingly raising another man's child. This would mean that out of a class of 60 students, 20 of them are growing up calling the wrong man dad. Where did this 30% figure come from? And this is going to be shocking, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be shocking.
Okay.
This is the often misunderstood statistics provided by some fraternity test labs regarding the percentage fraternity tests with not a father result. Most fraternity test labs report that about 1/3 of their fraternity tests have a negative result. Of all the possible fathers who take a fraternity test, about 32% are not the biological father. But remember, this is 1/3 of the men who have a reason to take the fraternity test. Not 1/3 of all men. That is the difference. To determine a true non-fraternal rate, scientists usually turn to various studies of children with genetic disorders. In these studies, a large number of children are screened for genetic disorders like crystal fibrosis, and in which the children
cystic fibrosis, sir. Cystic fibrosis
must inherit a copy of the defective gene from both parents to show the disease. 0.7%. Higher numbers, particularly often cited 10%, seem to come from more biased samples on.
They're not biased. They're samples. The thing is, unless you test everybody, and I do mean everybody, okay, it's a sample is a sample, okay. You can't take a nation of 330 million people and test a fraction of them like a couple thousand, and expect that to be the sample. Okay. In fact, the sample of in fact, the sample of the DNA testers are actually a bigger cross section of people. DNA labs. I think the one study, the DNA labs do like 300 or 400,000 samples a year. Okay, that's a large number of people. That's a broad spectrum of people. That's probably even more than what a scientist could do. And the scientist that he's actually pulling from right now is probably I think it was like 2,300 people. Okay, come on, man. And the test that the sample they're actually the testing they're actually pulling from is not even here in the United States. It's actually in the Netherlands.
More likely turn out to be. Let's read a few things out here. Life of his own, despite biological fathers. A new industry director, Elliot Minimal. He not large between to help you out, right? First of all, you came
Oh,
on my channel.
okay. All right. Basically, he didn't read the. I thought he was going to read the study, but he didn't read the study. The study was actually in the Netherlands, and they did a cross section of families, a sample of families in the Netherlands. Right. The Netherlands maybe has what 8 million people in the country, eight from 4 to 8 million people. I think it's less than that. I think it's like 4 or 5 million people in the Netherlands. Right. Okay. Basically, the size of a large city in the United States. Okay. Number one. And they tested families, and they found out that that's where the number comes from. It was between 1 and 4%. Okay, which is which is well within the margin of error. Okay, it's in between 1 and 4%. Okay, that's fine. That's in the Netherlands. Okay, and that's one study that they're pulling from. Okay, he didn't cite any other studies, but what we're going to do is since we're here, um, and he says there's no proof. Okay, um, we're going to start with the one sample that I found. This is one that the people in Memphis, okay, actually used. Not Memphis, but in Tennessee actually used. Okay, and this will be from 2006, and you can see it comes from the National Library of Medicine from PubMed, a national. Let's see if we can boost this one up a little bit so y'all can see it. Okay, a national sample of paternity tests do demographic test outcomes, right? Okay, nearly 300,000 paternity tests are performed in the United States annually to include or exclude a male as the biological father of a child. Little is known about how whether test outcomes could be predicted simply on the basis of subject social background. Our objective is to document demographic composition of test subjects to determine how well ethnic background and age predict paternity inclusions, right? Okay. Okay, study and design. A national database of 9,999 paternity test results was formed, weighted to represent the population of paternity establishment cases for the United States. Multiple regression determined the odds and ratio of paternity test inclusion or on the demographic variables. Okay, the test results indicated a paternity inclusion in 72% of the cases. Right, and in other words, the average was about 28%. Right, of inclusions. The percent included very little across racial or ethnic categories with a low of 67%. Okay. In other words, 33% of only 67% of African Americans were actually included. So that means there was a 33% paternity, false paternity test for African Americans. Okay. And a high of 82% amongst Native Americans. In other words, the only 18% of included tests were considered false, right? So for any subject receiving a genetic test and child support office predicting a 72% probability that the test will show a paternity inclusion offers a good estimate of the test outcome as a subgroup estimate based on a subject's age, race, and child characteristics. Okay. In other words, that is the sample study. That's one of the studies. It's one of the studies that that the Tennessee state of Tennessee government actually pulled upon to actually pass legislation, right? This has been going on for quite some time, right? The one from 2019 by Goodmarker, I cannot find. I wish I had saved it. I cannot find it. Okay. The next one, okay. Uh, the next one we have is coming from Mexico. Let's bump this up a bit. Okay. Uh, this is the part. This is the part. Okay, this is the part that we want to focus on, right? The exclusion rate was 29.58%, right? In other words, that's right in line with what the Americans talk about, right? 28, 29%. Okay, this is a different state, a different country, okay, a different set of paternity testing clinics. And this study was done obtained over what, 5 years, okay? Results obtained over 5 years, paternity testing laboratory in Mexico, okay? It comes out to be right around the same rate. And we can get in, we're not going to get into all the other details, right? That's what the abstracts are for, right? The exclusion rate of the false paternity, okay, or negative paternity was 29%. So you can bump that up a bit so you guys can see it. The exclusion rate range was reported as 20 and 29.58%, right around 30%, right? Okay. Black folks in 2006 was the highest. This is, I think this year, this is from 2019, I think it is. I think this is 2019. 2017. It's from 2017, right? From 2006, this is 2017 in Mexico, a different country, right? Right? So far we have two scientific studies from two different countries, right? And this is the hot spot. This one is this is something that a lot of people actually don't particularly like. But thing is, this has been reported. They've actually done videos on this. Okay, this is coming from Jamaica. This is probably the worst I've seen. Let's pot this up a bit so you guys can see it. Exit out of there. Okay, get out of there. Uh, the male's perspective on paternity fraud in Jamaica during the post-COVID era. This is very recent, right? This is from 2015 to 2019. Okay. Said findings. Okay. 900 participants. Okay. 80, 900%, 80, out of all the ones they surveyed, right? 84.3% believe paternity fraud and what they believed is wrong. Okay. Um, where did I see it? As the study revealed that 25% of men in Jamaica are unwittingly taking care of children who are not biologically theirs. Okay, that's 25%. Um, let's see. There's another one. I should have. Wish I could have highlighted some of this. Okay, I've seen some reports that it's as high as 70%. I said Elaine Sutherland conducted research in 2015 on liability paternity fraud, reported a case where a woman in Scotland journeyed 18 months. Da, 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 da. There was one sample with 25, with there was one sample between 2015, 2019 where they said that the paternity fraud was like 70%. See if I can scroll down and find this. Say paternity fraud was when a woman intentionally labels a man uh, falsely as a biological father of her children or children placed in his legal name on documentation such as birth certificate. Paternity fraud might occur to gain child support or because the woman thinks this particular male might be a better father than the actual biological father. However, it's not paternity fraud if the woman mistakenly lists the man as father without realizing he is not the biological parent. Over the years, Jamaica has been replete with sour tales from every corner of the paternity fraud, or commonly referred to as a jacket, stemming from widespread insecurity rumors, speculation about paternity fraud, right? Paternity fraud is the second most popular reason for a murder suicide in Jamaica, which is one reason why the Jamaican parliament does not want to pass paternity testing at birth. The findings revealed that 26.1% of Jamaican males 18 years or older indicate they have been victims of paternity fraud, which is similar to a study conducted by Gale that 25% of Jamaican males were given children that were not theirs. Okay. A research found that 83.4 males stated they would take a DNA test to find if they were the biological father. There was more to it than that. There was one spot where I saw where they were actually going over something about the blood test. I might have to do a um, standalone because there's one spot where they're saying the American Blood Bank was actually found a similar number. Okay, when testing blood samples, and that was years ago. I don't think it's in this one. It might be the one in Mexico, but um, this is very common. But this is three studies that say the exact same thing. Okay, right around the same number. So the 30% is they say excuses like, oh, that's because of the men that have a reason to actually look or actually file. But the thing is, nobody has done a broad sample of paternity testing at birth. If you do that, then you would actually know the actual number, just like a birth certificate. There's no, as far as children being born with a mother, everybody knows what the number is because most children have a birth certificate. So you might be like 0.101% off of a particular number. But if everybody does a DNA test, then you know exactly what the number is, which is what they're afraid of. In fact, that's what the Jamaican Parliament was actually afraid of. Like I said, a lot of chicks would wind up dead if they actually did it. Well, the thing is, well, the whole world's been built on lies. So the whole world's been built on lies. What are you talking about, kid? But the pretend, like I said, in Mexico, different country, different testing facilities, different population, the exact same shit. Okay. You could go to Nigeria is 33%. I think there was a story in UK that said the exact same thing. Okay. When when a guy goes to the doctor and finds out he's infertile, but he's got three kids. It's not the first time. So, so he just talked about the study. He gave maybe one study. He didn't even give a study. He gave an article. He gave an article. So I just wanted to come on since I don't know why he added me. Adding me is probably the wrong thing to do unless your stuff is solidly backed up, right? So he threw one at me. Well, he didn't even show it. I showed it. I showed the articles. I showed not the articles, but the studies. These are studies because there's tons of articles that say 70%. You can actually go and look up Jamaican paternity fraud. They say it's up to 70%. I haven't found that study. But I've heard other people talk about the Jamaican paternity fraud is about 70%, which is why the parliament does not want to have paternity testing at birth, is because they're afraid of the violence that will ensue if they do. That tells you something, which is why I don't know why the United States, or state governments can't impose that, especially with with non-married people. Okay, the test doesn't cost that much, and it could be done, especially if the father's there. Now, if the father's not there, then that's different. But the father can submit a sample. Okay, if you want the father to pay a fee, okay, you can make it cheap, $100, $200 to get excluded. He'll pay it. The thing is that the reason that they don't do it is for the same reason that Jamaica doesn't do it. It's called family instability. Yeah. There was also a story the woman had 6 kids and yeah, he killed her. Yeah, yeah. That's very yeah. I did see that story. But this is my response to Big J. I know he's not going to be around because it's impromptu, and I know he's not hovering. So, but I put his name in it. I'm sure somebody has told him that I actually am doing a live on him. So, yeah, it would be the best $100 ever spent, which is why I agree with it. I don't know why. Um, I don't know why there's such a big kerfuffle about a test. I do one or two things. Either prove that you're right, that paternity fraud is not as widespread as people think it is, or that you're wrong. But then there probably might be violence. Okay. I could tell you in my family with cousins and stuff like that, this is very common. Paternity fraud is very common. In my family, I've my son tried to almost got a jacket, and my nephew got one. Okay, almost got one, and the chick said the exact same thing. It's your baby, your baby, your baby until that paternity test. Okay, okay, no, maybe that isn't your baby. So and this is extremely common. Okay, I'm sure I'm not the only one. I said they get pregnant on girls' trips and come back and say it's yours, then build a podcast of their baby daddy ain't shit. Yeah, yeah. Adrian did send me that one. Okay, that was funny. That was hilarious. Let's see if I can pull it up real quick. That was hilarious. See if I can find it. Okay, there it is. All right, let's go ahead and pot it up real quick because it was hilarious. Okay, I don't know if this is a skit or what. I don't think it's really a skit. Nobody would put this stuff out. Okay. Then again, these bras are crazy enough.
Two, three. Turn the camera. One, two, three. Turn the camera.
It might be a skit, but it's funny as hell. Shout out to Adrian for sending it. And said I went through this BGS. It's how I became red pill. It's very common, man. I don't know that we can't why we can't enact that. That would actually make a lot of what has Big J said on paternity fraud. He said paternity fraud, according to this Dutch test, is about between 1% and 4%. Okay, 1.7 and 4%. They said 4% is the highest. They said 10% is too high, according to the genetic test that they did. That's one test. Okay, back in 2006, maybe 2010. Okay, but this is they've done so many paternity tests around the world to come up with the exact same number. So This is a very common thing. Anyhow, if Big J, if you in the house, man, you want to dispute this, you sure can. Okay, you sure can. Because I glanced at the video before I actually showed it. I thought he was going through the actual study. He didn't. Okay, he's reading an article, and there's several articles that refer to the study. I actually did read the study. I actually tracked it down and did read the study, and basically, I think it was maybe 8,000 people in the Netherlands that they tested, which is fine. But thing is, it's a valid study. But thing is, just one doesn't counteract the one, two, three, even four studies that I've actually seen more, but things four studies that I know of from different countries that said the exact same thing. And guess who the highest paternity fraud is? It's Black Americans, right? And they showed you in the American study, it's not all the same. Okay. The paternity exclusion is not all the same. It's actually lowest in Native Americans. And Asians are second, whites are third, and guess who the highest is? And the one I saw in 2019, African Americans paternity exclusion was like 41%. That one I can't find. They took that one down. And he doesn't read well, period. No, we're not the Netherlands. Well, thing is, they did an extensive study. They didn't go to the paternity labs, right? But basically, if you have a stable family, there is no paternity fraud. Nobody's actually looking for it, right? Okay. And I'm not saying that um, if you're married and your wife gets pregnant, that she's out there fooling around. That's not your kid. I don't know that. Okay. But thing is that paternity fraud has nothing to do with that. Paternity fraud has to do with contested cases. And a lot of guys don't say anything is because they're afraid of um, upsetting both sides of the family by saying it's not. Okay. The thing is, if it's done automatically at birth, then nobody has anything to say. You can always refuse to actually take it or even look at it if that's what you want. But the thing is, I think it should be done because it can be done. Just they do all kinds of tests on the baby, blood tests, amniocentesis, all kinds of tests for that baby when that woman actually goes to see a doctor. They do tons of tests. That's a simple one. Okay, you can actually do a paternity test before the baby's even born. So there's no reason not to do it. It's two swabs of a cheek. It's not like you cutting the baby open or something like that. So, but the thing is, they know what's going to happen. It could be. It very well could be. Okay. Now, in fact, there was a UK study that I saw. They said maybe 1/3 of UK men are probably infertile. But I have to go back and look for that. Anyway, man, it's been about 30 minutes. That's all I wanted to bring up, man, because he added me, so I added him back. So what makes it your serve. Anyhow, so I refuse to pay for another man's child. Fuck everyone's feelings. Go find the child's real father. I mean, it's such a running joke. It's ridiculous. In Canada, if you're married and your girl gets pregnant, you're responsible for the child, even if it's proven not to be yours. That's the way it used to be in the United States. Okay, it's not that way anymore. Said I called her bluff. I had one done myself, then sent the results off to the courts. Then the courts granted me a trial. I got her under signing the birth certificate due to fraud. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's common. We should. I mean, if it's so common that it does happens all the time, people should take care of it. The government should take care of it. But they don't is because of what could happen. Okay, violence, instability, family instability, all kinds of shit. I just saw a TikTok of a white judge married for 51 years. Yeah, I did see that. Found his two kids aren't his. Yeah, yeah. When you see judges like that, they'll start changing shit. Yeah, I saw that TikTok. She put the baby on anybody because it's her body, her choice. And yeah, what it should be, your wallet, your choice. But anyhow, y'all, I'm gonna let Dusty take us out, man, because this is a dusty broadcast, a real dusty broadcast. No thumbnail or anything. But I'm gonna say this to Big J real quick.
Life's tough. Get a helmet, man.
And
Hey, yo, lesson here, babe. You come at the king, you best not miss.
and basically the last one.
Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
And then Dusty.
Yeah!